And so we are living through a very big culture change. The culture change is phenomenal. This is all-time change. 15 years ago, if you went on the internet to go on a dating site and went on a date, you were weird. Now that is the norm. Can you imagine if I told the parents in this room 20 years ago that I'm from the future and let me tell you what's gonna happen in 20 years. You're gonna rather your 14-year-old girl go into a stranger's car every day to get around the town than to drive herself because you would think that's safer. Nobody would have bought me selling them Uber. Nobody would have bought 20 years ago that kids would be going into strangers. You were taught, how many people over 35? We were taught you don't go into strangers' cars at all costs. Now we're paying a fucking premium to go inside of them. The culture has changed. It's not changing, it's not coming. There are 60-year-old men in here who texted a poop emoji to their friend last night. The same 60-year-old executive who said, "What's an emoji?" 18 months ago. The same 60-year-old executive who 10 years ago said they would never be on Facebook. The same 60-year-old executive who 15 years ago said to me, "I'm not getting a cell phone. My pager works just fine." We, as a culture, do not like change. And in that, we lose. It is time for you to go on the offense, not the defense, because I have a funny thing to tell you about technology. Everything I believe in didn't exist 15 years ago. Not the smartphone, not YouTube, not Facebook, not apps, nothing. Did not exist. And if you think the last 15 years have been crazy, wait till you see what technology is gonna do in the next 15 years. This is nothing. You know what this is? This iPhone X. You know what this is? This is a pager. This is a pager. My friends, you have to understand what we're living through. We're living through a race. We're about to run a marathon in technology. Technology will eat up every aspect of everything always and forever. It's how it works. The bookstores were first, then it was people that owned taxi services, then it was the hotel industry with Airbnb, but it will keep going. The biggest TV networks in the world, now that there's OTT, this will keep going, everything. Just because you have big contracts with the biggest companies in the world, what's that contract worth when that company is not alive? This is real. And so we're about to run a marathon. And the reason I stress on you to be good at that is not because I think that's the end-all be-all, but you have no chance to be good at AR and VR and machine learning and cryptocurrency and everything else that's coming next if you did not ground yourself in this. You can't run a 40-mile marathon right now on the spot if you haven't been on the treadmill for the last 6 months and running little mini races to prepare. And if you are not adapting this psychologically first, religion first, and then becoming a practitioner, you need to be the architect, the general contractor, and the plumber, because if you don't, you will lose. And so I implore you, while it's easy, it's fucking easy to learn this. While it's easy, you better get serious about this, because the next wave of technology is gonna gobble you up. The number one mistake everybody's making on social media content right now is they're using the same content and they're spreading it throughout all the platforms, and they're using social as distribution, not as a native place to storytell. Let me explain. All of you sitting here, how many people here consume content on more than one social network? Raise your hand. Fantastic. Majority of this room. So you're gonna understand this. And this is fascinating, and after I tell you this, I can't wait for you to spend the next day or two realizing how interesting this nuance is. I am me. I'm Gary, right? When I go into Instagram, my psychology is different than when I go into Twitter. My psychology is different than when I go into Facebook. Every one of you uses these platforms differently. When you're on LinkedIn, that's an amazing ring. When I go, it's really funny. When I go into Instagram, my mindset is younger, it's swaggier, it is just different. There's a youthfulness, there's a pulse, there's a cultural aspect that even the copy that I write with my two thumbs is different slang than what I would write on LinkedIn. than what I would write on Twitter, than what I would write on Facebook. Understand that when you put a picture or words or video on one of these platforms, the person you're trying to reach, even though you targeted ads across all of them for 44 to 45-year-old women with 2 children and $100,000 income, even though she is the same person, her mindset is different in every platform. And that context, that nuance is imperative. You also have to respect the platform. Instagram is a platform that only allows you today to make a video that is only 1 minute long. That is a different storytelling restriction than if you're making a 4.5-minute video on Facebook. Too many companies that are advanced in here will make one video and then edit it down for the 1-minute version by their best half-assed efforts from the 4-minute version that they put on Facebook without creating narratively for that platform or deeply understanding how to, what I would call, DJ the content into the platform. If you're into music, then you realize over the last 20 years, we've seen the growth of DJ culture. It is a different skill set than being the person that creates the original song. If you become great at being a DJ off of a piece of a content to the 6 or 7 logos that matter at the bottom of my screen down here, if you can become a great DJ, if you can take a piece of content, if you can understand what you want to say, what message are you trying to make me understand? Use my dentist service, buy my SaaS product, use my bank, hire my law firm, work with me, donate for me, vote for me, buy me, donate for me. If you understand what you're trying to get across, and you understand that it's words, audio, and video in the way we've communicated for the last 100+ years, and you understand how to respect, and I mean really respect, this, and this, and this, and this, and that, and understand how they're different, how they work inside out, spend the 30 to 40 hours to become educated on how they work, and then actually with your own fingers, place it, run it, and watch it, and do that for the next 6 months, you have a shot to be successful. And if you do not, you can still be successful, but you're doing it at your own peril. Every day goes by, this is grabbing attention. Now, you may not like that. You might be very upset that the kids are in their phone the whole time. But you have to make me a promise. You have to leave your opinions about technology at the door when you walk into the office and run your business. Because your romance is gonna put you out of business. And I wanna debate you on your romance. When you go to a restaurant and you see a couple sitting there and both of them are on the phone and not talking, you love to nudge your partner and say, isn't that sad? That's terrible, right? Oh, look at this, that's terrible. I look at it very differently. When I walk into a restaurant and I see a couple sitting there and both of them are on the phone the whole 30 times, I get excited. I feel better for them. I'm happy for them. Let me tell you why. I'm serious, my man. Let me tell you why. It's very simple. 30 years ago, that same couple sitting at that restaurant, they didn't talk to each other. They sat across from each other. All of you have seen this. All of you, I'm looking around the crowd. Nice, this is not 14-year-old girls in the crowd. We're a little older here. How many people over 35? Raise your hand. Perfect. All of you have seen what I saw 15 years ago, which is you went to a restaurant and you just happened to notice while you were doing your thing, 2 people sitting there, a couple, not saying a fucking word to each other. Right? My friends, technology has not changed us. Technology has exposed us. The reason those 2 people are sitting there and both on the phone is because they don't like each other. And when I see 2 people sitting there in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s normally, both on the phone and not talking to each other, I see it as a mitzvah. I'm happy for them. Because 20 years ago, they had nothing to do and they had to get through that hour hating each other, not saying a fucking word. But now they can look at their YouTube video and be happy. It's true.
I am CMO of Patek Philippe or Hermès. Many people in marketing would say that it's proven that luxury brands lose brand value and positioning if they're visible in the wrong context with the mass brands?
I think there's a lot of things in there in that statement. I would say, number one, ego is mixed in there. I would say naivete is mixed there. Those two are the things that stand out. I'm empathetic. I'm empathetic to why Rolex or Cartier or Aston Martin may think that this is below them. It's also why Tiffany's and Aston Martin and Rolex will go out of business over the next decade. Let me say it very clear one more time. Go out of business in the next decade or 15 years. If they don't act, they will. Because every day that goes, let me tell you something about social media and luxury brands. None of them were there 8 years ago. They're all there now. They're just half pregnant because they're fucking snobs, run by snobs. And you know what's amazing about meritocracy and capitalism and open market dynamics? Snobs die.
Okay. This is not a just personal opinion based on where you come from, no? Yeah.
No, I mean, look, listen, I don't think I can win if I have personal opinions. Christie's is selling $800,000 products on Instagram. Is that a good enough answer? What do you want? Like, do you not understand how society works? Do you not understand that every rich person, 35 to 45, only lives on Instagram and doesn't even know what the fuck Vogue is? Like, do you live in the world? So, listen, I think, to answer your question, my personal experience, no, I think it's their personal experience of how they grew up, or more importantly, how they wish it would be. Because a lot of people that work at brands like that like the inclusive, on a pedestal nature of that job. And by the way, I don't blame you. Enjoy it while it lasts. I know that what got me here isn't gonna get me to the next place. And I know that the market, much like luxury brands, doesn't care about little old me. So when it's here in 4 years, I'm gonna do a lot of work and stay up late and educate myself and use my intuition and my skill of consumer behavior to figure out how to storytell in the place that has now emerged.
Okay, and so then you have to go out for the knowledge so your intuition will work the right way. Where do you sort of go?
Everywhere where we are currently. So I will tell you, the pulse of culture, no question, lives on Instagram. You should spend an hour a day just searching Instagram hashtags and following a lot of people and then reading what people leave. You should spend an hour, let me rephrase, if you're a strategist, a psychologist, somebody anthropologist, if you're curious about culture, it is playing out in your eyes on Instagram. It is the pulse, the heartbeat of the emerging cultures. I knew that 8-year-old girls were gonna make slime 2 years ago. It's right there.
Couldn't you have stopped it?
I could have, but that wouldn't have allowed me to invest a lot of money into the Elmer's glue company.
You did?
I sure did. And if I took my Coinbase out right now, not that I'm a genius and I surely didn't bet enough money, but if I take my Coinbase account out right now, I just want to be very accurate so there's no confusion. By paying attention to culture and betting on people's, kind of actions, I bought on, on February 18th, 2014, I bought my Bitcoin, not last week. What happens when you stay curious and humble is you start listening. When you start listening and executing, it allows you to have the audacity to start talking. That is a good strategy.